How's it going, everybody? This is Ask Me Anything About Politics. So, you got any questions about politics, just let me know in the chat, and I will do my best to give you a great answer. I know that politics can be really intimidating when you're first trying to learn about it. It can be like trying to learn a new language, and so I like to make myself available to answer all of your questions about it. And so, you don't got to worry about, embarrassing yourself by asking a person in real life. You can anonymously ask a question here to me, and there's not going to be any, judgments or roasting or debates or any ridicule for not knowing things. I don't believe in making fun of people for not knowing things. So I am here just to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. This is not one of those live streams where I just invite people on to yell at them for having different political opinions than me. This is not one of those shows where I try to own you for your political beliefs. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if you didn't vote. I don't care if you're further to the left than me or you're further to the right than me. I am just here to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. Excuse me. I know that politics can be really intimidating when you're first trying to learn about it, and it can feel sometimes like you're trying to learn a language. It's like sometimes when we're talking about politics, we just refer to people by their last names, and if you don't know who Patel or Hegseth or Gabbard are, then it can be really difficult to kind of like follow when people are talking about it. Or if you don't know what any of these three-letter agencies are, like the DOI or the FEC or the SEC or the FTC. It can be really difficult to get through that. And even if we do say things like the Consumer Financial Protection Board, like what if you don't know what that thing does? And we'll throw around words like reconciliation and filibuster and continuing resolution and shit like that. And if you don't know what any of those words mean, then it can be really easy to keep track of what's going on in politics. So this is the place where you can ask all those questions, and it is a judgment-free zone. You don't got to worry about, if I ask this question, he's going to think I'm some sort of MAGA lunatic, or if I ask this question, he's going to think I'm some squishy cuck libtard. There's no judgments here. I don't care who you voted for, and hey, I'm a pretty left-leaning person. If you're a right-leaning person and you've always wanted to be like, why are liberals like this? Why are they so evil? Why do they drink baby's blood? This is the place where you can ask those questions, and I will answer you, with all the sincerity I can muster and say, we don't drink baby's bloods. Callie Cat says, which government agency paid you to say all this? I don't get paid by the government. And even if that was something that I was interested in, the Trump administration is not going to be paying somebody like me to do anything. Coop, Dog, Scrog says Dem or Rub. I am a Dem. Michael Garcia says, what's your thoughts about the big beautiful bill? It is the largest transfer of wealth to the rich from the poor in potentially our nation's history. It is tragic. It is going to balloon the deficit. It is going to hurt a lot of people. And for what? So we can give billionaires more money? Doesn't seem like a really good move to me. Says, who's the GOAT, LeBron or MJ? Neither of those are questions about politics. No Dodo says, how do you feel about that new Jake Tapper book? It's super interesting. So I haven't read it yet. I've only heard little, bits and pieces about it. I honestly, I gotta say, just like based on the face of it, it seems pretty plausible to me. Like the Joe Biden that we saw during the debate is not the Joe Biden that his inner circle was telling us was happening behind the scenes. And there are a lot of, things about interacting with Joe Biden that I can forgive if you are not part of the inner circle, like if you are just Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or whoever, and you see him, every once in a while, and you say like, well, he's probably just tired, or I just got off a long flight or something like that. But if you are one of the people that is regularly working with him, you probably knew what the fuck was up, and that is, it is unconscionable that they did that to the American people. Zaya Miruka. What's happening with Kamala now? I'm not up to date with her. I don't know what she's up to. Some people suggest that she is putting out feelers to see if she wants to run for governor or run for president again, and she can do whatever she likes. Griff Dog says, who'd you vote for? Democrats up and down the ballot. Brother helps us. What's happening with Joe? He is currently no longer president, and he just got diagnosed with prostate cancer. Let's see here. No, wait. What is partisanship? Partisanship is where you have an agenda to forward the the policies or gain political power for one particular political party, regardless of if it's good for the country, if it's good for people, if it makes any logical sense, if it's illegal, or if it's unconstitutional. So the way that people in the Trump orbit will support him no matter what he does, the way that Caroline Leavitt will go out there and lie to the American people, the way that JD Vance will try to like reinterpret the stupid shit that Trump says to have it make sense, that's partisanship, because they are just trying to forward the agenda of the Republican Party, regardless of if their president is acting illegally or unconstitutionally. It is not partisanship to take a look at the two platforms of the two parties and say, well, this platform is better, so I'm going to vote for them, and this platform is worse, so I'm not going to vote for them. And in fact, I'm going to tell everybody that they shouldn't vote for that platform. That's not partisanship. Exists, therefore, Encrypt says, why are Democrats against private business expansion? I don't believe that they are. Party source. You're welcome here, Party Source. Dee says, don't forget to wish Donald a happy felonversary. Celebrate with 34 tacos. Pretty funny, Dee. Brother Help says, I don't know what the Republican Party is going to do once Trump kicks the bucket. What they're going to do is they're going to try to find somebody who has the same appeal as Trump, but is not an idiot. Let's see here. AIPAC owns America, United States of Israel. That's not a question. It's also inaccurate, and so you're blocked. All right. The AP government test says, what is bipartisanship? Bipartisanship is, for example, if you are a Democratic senator and the Democratic president does something illegal that requires you to impeach him, and you vote to impeach him. That is bipartisanship. We are seeing the exact opposite of that in the Republican Party, where Donald Trump is doing impeachable offenses and the Republican Party is just letting him do it. Colin Moore says, thoughts on those wellness camps that RFK Jr. wants to build? Seems kind of Schnazi-ish to me. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Nina A says, how do you think the Senate will change the big ugly bill? I honestly, Nina, I've got no clue. The Senate tends to be less cuckoo bananas than the Republican House. But that being said, the Republicans have a history of caving to pressure under Trump. And so he is going to yell and scream at them, and he's going to get a bunch of them to change their votes. And the history of Republicans caving to the whims of dear leader tend to be that the more moderate voices, the ones that want to not cut taxes for billionaires as much and not cut Medicare and Medicaid as much, are going to lose out to the extremists. And so, you'll never lose money by betting that the Republicans are going to do the wrong thing. So if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that if it passes at all, it's going to be the worst version of the bill. Alex Van Dyke says, how important are local elections compared to national? I don't know if... it's difficult because normally I would say that local elections are more important, but the fact that we are living under threat of a fascist dictatorship means that federal elections have become even more important, because we need people in the House and people in the Senate in order to be a balance against this authoritarian president. And so, it's a difficult, balancing act here. But I would just say that they're equally important at the moment. User a bunch of numbers says, do you think you're wasting your life commenting on politics instead of contributing to society? I believe I am contributing to society. Benjamin Van Wyck says, you're a farce. All right, well, that's not a question, so you're out of here. See you later, buddy. Alrighty. Period says, what are your opinions on the global outrage that Israel is facing? It's well-deserved, Israel is guilty, sorry, not Israel, but the conservative right-wing, extreme right-wing government of Israel, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, is guilty of doing war crimes against the people of Palestine. And Hamas, the terrorist organization that is currently in control of Palestine, is guilty of doing war crimes against the people of Israel. So neither of them are good actors in this situation. But where creating a two-state solution, creating peace between the two countries, it is incumbent on the more powerful country to do the work. And Israel is not doing the work. Israel is just doing ethnic cleansing and war crimes. So yeah, I think it is 100% justified, the global backlash to what Israel is doing. And I think it is a disgrace that America is not on the side of the people condemning Israel and not on the side of the ICC. Thank you, period. I appreciate you. What's up, Samurai Destroyer? Good to see you again. How's it going? I'm tired. It's been a long week. Brother Help says, why do we care about what happens to the rest of the world if it doesn't affect America? I mean, it does affect America, Brother Help. Problems that happen across the ocean eventually make their way over here because we live in a global society where planes are going back and forth. So, the people who potentially have, dangerous diseases like Ebola or tuberculosis are coming from their country to this country. People that are starving and need cheap energy are going to be affecting the environment by burning, fossil fuels. That pollution will eventually make its way over to here. Warlords and cartel members can have a massive effect on things that happen here in this country. And global trade, of course, is still a fucking thing. So what happens in France and Syria and Japan all has a relevance to people's lives here in America. Brother Help says, I guess my isolationist ideology, I just doesn't work for the modern day. No tea, no shade, Brother Help, but the American isolationist movement does have its roots in the American Nazi Party during World War II. The idea can be sold to people who do not have that affiliation. Like, I'm sure that you are not, somebody who is trying to, work with or be affiliated with the American Nazi Party. But it's a useful tool that they have used in the past. And that raises red flags for me, And if you want more information about the history of that, I would recommend a podcast called Ultra about the rise of the American Nazi Party during World War II. And I highly recommend it for everybody. Oh boy, I did not know that I consider myself a constitutionalist. Oh, well, yeah, check it out, man. It's fascinating. I didn't know that either, actually. John Pork Decibel says, yo, play here without you by... That's pretty funny. I'm not taking music requests at the moment. Samurai Destroyer, that is a long question. I'll get to that in a second. Let me attend to TikTok for a hot second. Psycho Ginger says, why did Trump win? Trump won for two reasons. Number one, a thing called incumbency bias, where everybody around the world was upset about the post-COVID inflation. That was largely the fault of people like Donald Trump. So people were mad at whoever was in charge in 2024. And so in the elections in 2024, in the election in 2024, whoever was in charge, whether they were left, right, or center, suffered electoral consequences all around the globe. And Democrats were in charge in 2024. And so, people were upset at the Democrats and they wanted to vote for change. That's number one. Number two is propaganda and misinformation. Billionaires have been flooding social media with the exact kind of propaganda that will either convince you to vote for Republicans or not vote at all. There were 8 million fewer voters in 2024 than there were in 2020, in addition to small upticks in, voter participation in certain demographics for the Republican Party, specifically Donald Trump. That is entirely the fault of billionaire propaganda. And I do think that the Democratic Party made some mistakes, both policy-wise and electorally. For example, Joe Biden deciding to run for a second term, Joe Biden continuing to send weapons and money to Israel, despite the fact that they were both guilty of war crimes. There's a, it still, to me, does not equal that Republicans would be better for this moment in time, or that Donald Trump is going to be a good president. But that is the reason why people were tricked and conned into voting for Republicans. Pegashi says, interesting considering the billionaires own the media and most media outlets were against Trump. That is inaccurate, Pegashi. So billionaires do own a lot of media and social media channels. But it is inaccurate to say that media outlets were against Trump. Now, there could be individual reporters who work for those agencies that were against Trump. But if you look at reporting, especially like quote-unquote centrist media like New York Times, CNN, Associated Press, because they have an interest in appearing as bipartisan as humanly possible, they tend to downplay criticism of the Republican Party and tend to overhype criticism of the Democratic Party in order to, you'll see headlines that are specifically watered down to make it seem like the Republican Party is not as psychotic as it actually is. But you're right in saying that billionaires own all this shit, but who is who benefits from the Republican Party being in office. It is specifically the billionaire class. So obviously they're going to use their money to try to get billionaires elected, because billionaires get their taxes cut by the Republican Party, and the Republican Party cuts regulations for their businesses so they can, don't have to worry about all the chemical runoff from their factories poisoning our food and our water and our air and shit like that. All right, Sam Destroyer says, I remember the one question I asked about whether it is a good idea to have the U.S. be a one-party state. I think you said if Democratic Party were to rule, then you'd have multi-kinds of Democrats because it is democratic. But what about the Libertarians then, since the Republican Party is a party that has become some Libertarian politics, unlike the Democratic Party? Okay, so Sam Destroyer, that's an excellent question. So I don't know if you've heard this, but there is an expression in American politics that says Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. The factionalism of the Republican Party does not equal changes in like any policy or delving into more specifics and nuance and shit like that. What just ends up happening is they all just sort of like fall behind dear leader, and we saw this multiple times during Trump's first administration. We saw this during the George W. Bush administration, and we are currently seeing the worst version of it right now. So yes, it is true that there are factions within the Republican Party as well, but because the makeup of the Republican Party is so much more monolithic, i.e. straight people, white people, men, Christians, it is way easier for them to coalesce around a specific leader as opposed to the factionalization of the Democratic Party, being that everybody kind of has to work together. And Samurai Destroyer also says, I would say Trump won because there were issues that Kamala ran, that even progressives took issues on how Kamala ran. Like Kamala said, paid family leave, but then later she did not run on that. Samurai Destroyer, that is part of my argument about propaganda and misinformation, because I was keeping a really close eye on the Harris administration and her the Harris campaign on her run up to the president, to the election. And she was saying all that stuff. She was saying all the things. And people were either misinterpreting or not seeing or ignoring specific things. So I find the specific criticisms of the Harris campaign, which only had 100 days to run because of mistakes that Joe Biden made, and people usually take more than a year to prepare for their presidential campaigns. I think she did a great job with the time that she had, but also people on social media were full on lying, and people were not seeing the relevant information. They did exit polling with swing state voters, and over 60% of swing state voters had very specifically wrong ideas about what Harris herself said her platform was and what she was going to do in office. And that to me just says that Elon Musk's goal of muddying the waters with a bunch of bullshit was extremely successful. Onakaze says the U.S. has two parties, the Republicans who are like the Tories and the Democrats who are like the Tories. That is inaccurate, Onakaze. There are vastly different outcomes depending on who's in charge, and the platforms are vastly different. Braxton Worsley says there are a lot of things you hate about what Trump is doing, but what are some policies you like? Almost nothing, Braxton Worsley. And I think that it is a fallacy to say that a person can only be, a credible source if they are nonpartisan and are willing to look through the mountain of shit that is the Republican Party's platform for like the tiny pieces of silver lining. Now, that being said, Donald Trump has ordered the Treasury to get rid of the penny, and I'm for that. But yeah, I don't think that we serve the American people well by pretending as though, it's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's like, I don't really like this policy, but he's got this policy, which is pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and sane wash an administration that is shipping people who are legal residents who have done zero crimes to fucking concentration camps in El Salvador with zero due process. I am not going to sit here and do the work of making less crazy sounding Trump accepting a $400 million plane from the Qatari royals. The fact that he held a meme dinner where he made $1 billion, and in exchange he was pardoning people from their, fraud charges and shit like that. And people who should be getting financial restitution from those criminals are now not going to be getting that money. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be looking for the little silver linings in that fucking big ass pile of dog shit that is that administration. All right. Brother Help says, so are my pennies no longer valid currents? No, they'll probably be like systematically eliminated. So they're not going to keep making pennies, but it'll eventually will find their way to the Treasury again, and then the Treasury will slowly destroy them. James Dot says, who'd you support? Democrats up and on the ballots. Joy Rosapina said they tried to turn her into a villain and she was the opposite. Agree. Let's see here. Is Elon Stupping Stephen Miller's wife? And was it allowed because of the salute? I have no idea, but I think it would be just desserts for that fucking piece of shit, Stephen Miller. Yeah, let fucking Elon Musk fuck your wife, you fucking idiot. Hope she gets a horse out of it. Let's see here. Michael Lomley says, you're not aware that 90% of media was negative about Trump and Elon. So Michael Lomley, that is a misleading statistic because if what everybody is doing in the Republican Party is terrible, then yeah, a lot of that reporting is going to be negative, you know? A lot of the reporting around John Wayne Gacy was negative, but that doesn't mean that the media was biased against John Wayne Gacy. It means that he was doing really terrible shit. And no, I don't think that is an unfair analogy that I'm making. Engram, Joey 50ish says, I'd like to hear your spin as it relates to her policies on Palestine. You talking about Harris? Sure. Harris was in a bit of a bind. She could not be as critical of Biden as she wanted to be in the lead up to the election. For, insert reason here. She did not want to upset Democratic donors. She wanted to play nice with the previous administration because they were going to help her try to win this election. She didn't want the story to be her fighting with her boss, et cetera, et cetera. But she was winking to the progressive base that she was not going to have as strong of a pro-Israel stance as the Biden administration had. And Biden did not have as pro-Israel of a stance as Donald Trump has. So by the, by the law of, what do you call it? Doesn't matter. Trump is worse on this issue than Biden, and Biden is worse on this issue than Kamala. Ergo, Kamala would have been way better on this issue than Trump. Fire and Forgot says, what are your thoughts on Israel? America first? I have no hate for the people of Israel. I just hate the government of Israel, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, is an extreme right-wing authoritarian figure who is attempting to ethnically cleanse the people of Palestine. He's a real piece of shit. And he's only staying in power so that he can stay out of jail. Byron Donald's running for the governor of Florida, asks Shea Cruel. I do not know who that is, unfortunately, so I can't really talk about it. Joy Rosapina says, Joe Rogan, I think, had a lot to do with Harris's election. What do you think? I don't know. I really don't think that Joe Rogan, him having on Donald Trump and not having on Harris, or Andrew Schultz having on Donald Trump, or fucking whoever the other dude was, Theo Vaughn having on Donald Trump, maybe it moved the needle a little bit, but I think that there were stronger forces at play. I think that those things were kind of like pushing on an open door, as opposed to if Harris had gone to those podcasts, it would have been much more, like swimming upstream. And I don't really think it would have had that big of a difference. But I think it's one piece of a larger pie of the information environment being weaponized against the Democratic Party, the progressive wing, the culture of being a liberal, lefty, etc. Jay Williams says, have you read Aristotle Politics? I did in college, but it's been a very long time, so I don't really remember. All right. I'm Better added me, but I don't see what your question is there. I'm Better. Let's see here. Why would Democrats or whoever allow him to run for the second term? Samurai Destroyer, nobody can tell Joe Biden that he can't run for a second term. He was the president and the standard bearer for the Democratic Party at the time. There was a primary, and nobody voted for the other dude. I think his name was Dean Phillips or something. Just nobody voted for him. So, there was an open primary. People ran against Joe Biden. Joe Biden won by a lot. End of story. V says, do you think it was rigged, as Donald Trump has stated a few times? I think that, there are a couple of times that Donald Trump says things that can be interpreted in certain ways. And I tend to think that people kind of overhype those things. Like, we should always be focusing on what he's doing as opposed to what he is saying. So, for example, like during the lead up to the 2016 election, the Democrats kept on painting Donald Trump as being for the war in Iraq. And I listened to the audio clip of, Howard Stern asking Donald Trump if he thought that America should have invaded Iraq. And he goes, yeah, I guess, that doesn't seem like somebody who's really passionate about that issue, Also, he wasn't an elected representative at the time. So I don't think that we need to, give that much weight to something that he says during a Howard Stern interview. Now, him telling Howard Stern that he walks into the dressing room of the Miss America pageant so we can see a bunch of underage girls naked, I think that we should 100% take that seriously. So similarly, the way that he says like they rigged the election and we won, I think what he's talking about is that people tried to rig it against him, or that they rigged the 2020 election against him, but he still won because of how amazing and incredible he is. Now, that being said, the Republican Party, Donald Trump and Elon Musk did cheat to win that election by voter suppression, by electioneering, by flooding social media with dark money billionaire propaganda narratives and shit like that. Elon Musk is 100% guilty of massive campaign finance violations, but because they won the election, there's not going to be any accountability for that shit, Let's see here. Oh, Onk, what a sweet thing to say. You're making me blush here. Twitch, I will get to you guys in a second, but we're kind of popping off here over on TikTok, but I will get to you guys. Do not worry. Dakota Relic says, why is no one stopping Trump from making profit off the presidency? Because the only people that would be able to stop him are in the Republican Party, and the Republican Party, as I said, Samurai Destroyer, they get in line. They do not go against dear leader. They are the exact definition of party before country. So yeah, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, the Republican-controlled Congress, the Republican-controlled Supreme Court, all of them are in the bag for Donald Trump. So they don't give a shit how many laws he breaks, so long as they keep on confirming judges and cutting taxes for the billionaire class. Let's see here. Jay-Z says, do you think Dems could have won 2024 with a proper primary? Yes, but I do still think that the issue of incumbency bias and billionaire propaganda would have been a massive issue. But give Kamala Harris more than 100 days, and I think that we potentially win that election. I don't know if we win Congress, but we definitely win that election. Brother Help says, I want to be a politician, but I also don't want to be because of how other politicians are. Brother Help, be the change you want to see in the world, Brother Help. Let me hype you up to actually run for office, man. And if not on this live stream, fucking send me a DM or email me. People who look at what other politicians are doing and think we shouldn't be doing it that way, those are the exact people that should be running for office. Mr. Louis Casino says, hello, Dems never winning again. Have a nice day. That is not accurate. That is also not a question. So you are out of here. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. User a bunch of numbers says, does Kash Patel have a chance to be a Republican candidate for office next election? No, he's got all the fucking charisma of a fucking boiled potato. All right, going over to TikTok. Let's see here. My live was flagged for civic and election integrity. Well, isn't that interesting? How do I fucking appeal that decision? That fucking bullshit decision. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm getting shadow banned or anything like that. We'll see how my numbers do. But yeah, that's fucking bullshit. I'm not doing any of that. All right, let's see what's going over on TikTok. Let's see here. I just believe the idea of one party state can alienate conservatives and right wingers, even among them who are policy driven and not for like something right wing get accused of. Yeah, I get that, Samurai Destroyer, but we're not talking about a world in which the Republican Party still has voters. We're talking about a world in which the most conservative politician is somebody like Joe Manchin, and the conservative base of America then finds their voice through somebody like Joe Manchin. We're talking about a hypothetical world where, the only people that win elections are Democrats. I do not believe that, there is a significant portion of the population that's going to be, feeling underrepresented in that situation. Free Palestine. I agree with you, Adi. With all due respect for Joe Biden, whoever Democrat, all right, did that one. Fridge Makara says, I think part of the reason Harris lost is because politicians are often elected based on vibes. Yeah, and who controls those vibes? Fridge, it is the billionaires that are in control of our social media feeds, and the billionaires that use their money to affect our social media feeds with a bunch of propaganda that they fucking astroturf, All right, Samurai Destroyer, ask your question, and I will get to it as soon as you do. All right, let's go back over to The TikTok comments, Dan Blackroyd says, I may run for something in Georgia. Seriously looking at the Democratic Party apparatus here. Dan Blackroyd, you're the fucking goat. Please do run. And if you have not checked out Run for Something as a resource for your potential campaign, I think it is a must. Even if you are a candidate that is over 40, there are things that Run for Something can help you with. Boxer Love says, are you Democrat or Republican? I'm a Democrat. Shay Cruel says, I'm officially running for governor of Florida. Like you said, be the change. I remember you, Shay Cruel. Good luck to you. I don't really align with you in a lot of politics, but you're at least better than, the current Republican Party standard bearers. Brother Helpson's going to run from the mayor of my town. Pretty darn funny. Boxer Love says, what can we do to remove Trump from office? The main thing is electing Democrats in 2026, Boxer Love. So do the work. Do the work of electing Democrats. Do the work of recruiting other people to help elect Democrats. Do the work of talking to people. Do the work of talking to people in real life to make sure that they are not suffering from propaganda poisoning. If you want to do stuff right now, besides that, you can put pressure on your elected representatives if you are currently being represented by any Republicans. Protesting, boycotting, striking, that stuff really does make a difference. Let's see here. Boxer Love, I will spread the word and we will eliminate them electorally. Let's be very clear about that. If I'm ever talking about like the work or things to do, ways to, get involved, if you check out my Discord, I've got threads pinned with all sorts of relevant information. So, you can ask me here on the live stream, you can email me, my DMs are open, or you can go to my Discord where I got a lot of that stuff pinned. But the issue is I'm not one of the two big parties. Well, you can primary. You can run in a primary to be the Democratic candidate or the Republican candidate, however you like. Heart Queen Leon Dion says, how do you feel about certain Dems saying that trans issues are a losing political cause? There are a bunch of people in the Democratic Party who I disagree with, both in some of the policy ideas that they have, i.e. Nancy Pelosi saying that insider trading in government is not a problem, but also in, centrist gerontocracy Democrats saying that the reason why we're losing elections is because of the progressive wing trying to protect marginalized groups. I don't think it's accurate, and that's just not my wing of the party, and I don't really know if that bears out in any of the polling. I don't know if you can point to me a specific district or Senate seat that was lost because Democrats are just offering the most surface level support for a group of marginalized people. If anything, if the trans community is the reason why Democrats lose elections, not because of anything that Democrats are doing, it is because of propaganda that is being spread by the billionaire class in order to try to elect Republicans. They are inciting this fear, this fucking moral panic around trans athletes and telling people that trans kids are the reason why their fucking life sucks. It's bullshit, but it has nothing to do with what the Democrats are doing. Eliza47 says surface level. Yes, I'm not talking about the good progressives who are doing the work. I'm talking about just at the very least, a Democrat is not going to be supporting banning trans people from the military or banning conversion therapy or making it illegal to call somebody from a different name than it's on their birth certificate or shit like that. That's what I mean by surface level. I know that there are Democrats who are doing better work than that, Eliza. So I hope that is not the reason why you gave me those 4 question marks there. Brother Help says, I don't get there as a trans. Oh my God, I want to be a girl. What's the end of the... Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Smitty says, what is a woman? A woman is somebody that covers their drink when you're in the room. I don't know who you are, Smitty. Sorry, that's just a joke that I really enjoy. Alrighty. Steve Loves Horror says Kamala was funded by twice as many billionaires than Trump. That is inaccurate. Stevie loves horror. Because of Citizens United, there are channels by which billionaires can fund campaigns that we'll never be able to know about. But the people that have studied this issue, people that I trust because they are Nobel laureates in economics, have crunched numbers, and they have figured out that 75% of all billionaire donations go to Republican Party candidates. And it makes sense that they do, because the platform of the Republican Party is a giveaway to the billionaire class. It is cutting their taxes and cutting regulations for their businesses so they don't have to spend an extra $5 million making sure that the chemical runoff from their plants don't give all of our kids cancer. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-doo, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-doo. Ron Mexico says, wish we had a more centrist party. I would recommend you vote for centrist Democrats, man. Smitty says, you hate Trump or Biden more? Definitely Trump. Um, let's see here. Brother Help, but I'm a constitutionalist. I don't agree with the two parties. Then be the change, man. Change the Democratic Party or change the Republican Party. You know, that is what the primaries are for. You don't have to fit into the specific mold of whatever the party tells you your policies have to be. You just find the one that more closely aligns with you and run in the primary. Let's see here. Shay Carell, I don't have guests on my live stream, but I appreciate you. Brother Help says, so would it be possible to get another party or the two parties or the other two parties to established? So until we have ranked choice voting, any third party is only going to serve as a spoiler candidate. And the Republican Party, I should mention, is antagonistic to the idea of ranked choice voting. And if anybody wants to fucking call me on that shit, I fucking have the receipts. Where is that document? Google HR 3040. HR 3040. Republicans trying to ban ranked choice voting. So yeah, until we have ranked choice voting, a third party can't work. But also, I don't really believe that there is a problem with the two-party system necessarily. I mean, there are issues with it, but I don't think it is as evil as people make it out to be. Because the parties can be changed depending on who wins the primary. Quim says, if you had it your way, would you make it so everybody had to vote Democratic? I mean, that doesn't seem like democracy. That seems more like a dictatorship. Let's see here. Brother Help says, my issue of the two-party system, as George said, there shouldn't be political parties, I'm guessing is what you're saying. Yeah, but also George Washington lived a long time ago. He is not living in this world. Also, the world that in addition to George Washington not knowing what was going to happen in 2025, we also are living in a world that has a ascendant two parties that have a lot of infrastructure and name ID and a lot of money behind them. So it would be a ton easier for people just to try to change that than to try to fight against those two giant behemoths without just getting the worst version of politics elected, which is basically what happened in 2025. Samurai Destroyer, I love you. Stop adding me. It's not going to get your questions answered faster. I know the Iraq War happened a long time ago, but would you allow that to happen knowing that Iraq has an oppressive dictator? We cannot, and we have a history of military intervention in this country that is fraught, and has borne no positive fruit whatsoever. So yes, there are nations out there right now where dictators are suppressing their populations and shit like that. But it just does not work for America to go in there and force regime change. It just doesn't work. And right now, the reason why people are really hopeful about what's going on in Syria is because it was the people that outed their authoritarian dictator. And yes, now the people that are in charge are former Al Qaeda, but they are saying that they are changed, that they're saying that they want a free and open Syria. And so I think that we are well served in giving them the benefit of the doubt. And if they end up being not that, then we can always go put sanctions on them again or some shit. Let's see here. What would you agree with, conservative or Republican, on issues? Samurai Destroyer, that's okay, Samurai Destroyer, don't worry about it. I don't believe in bipartisanship for bipartisanship's sake. If we had two completely sane political parties, then yeah, maybe I'll reach across the aisle. But at the moment, the Republican Party is doing so much bad. I don't think it is productive or good for the American people to try to sane wash them by treating them as though they are a normal political party that I just have some philosophical and political differences with. It's like, no, they're literally killing people and they are fucking shitting on people's rights and shipping people off to a concentration camp with no due process. Like, that political party does not deserve me sifting through that mountain of shit and looking for silver linings. Jelly Bean says, will the deportations of many immigrants cost America more money than just keeping them? Yes. Full stop, Jelly Beans. 100%. That is what will happen. Oracle says, Republicans win on state and federal level for one reason, conservative media. Yeah, that's, I would add to that the Oracle, social media propaganda. Yeah, I think that's the whole fucking ball game there. Quim says, "Can you name one thing you like that Trump did and one thing you like that Biden did?" Trump, no, no, guys. What are we doing here, guys? What is up with this like faux nod to bipartisanship? Like, if you're really somebody who I'm gonna give any kind of credibility to, then you need to say one thing nice about Donald Trump. I'm sorry, do you mean the guy who is fucking openly being bribed by anonymous foreign nationals? People are giving this dude $1 million to pardon their fucking tax fraud, cheat, business fraud children out of jail. Like, are you fucking kidding me? He is taking money out of poor people's hands and putting it in his pocket. And you want me to fucking SSD because his Treasury Department is getting rid of the penny just because that's a policy that I agree with? Abso-fucking-lutely not. This is not the channel where you are going to find somebody sane washing the Republican Party. What they are doing is wrong. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is going to hurt a lot of people. It is giving more money to the wealthy, and they don't need it. It is starving the poor and middle class. It is increasing the cost of living crisis. It is harming the environment. It is going to be giving us all cancer and fucking Ebola and fucking new COVID strains that we're not going to be making new vaccines for because our fucking director of Homeland Security doesn't know what fucking science is. Not Homeland Security, Health and Human Services. So you get my fucking point, guy, you know? Alrighty, let's see here. Brother Help says, didn't the Constitution say we could just make a new government if this one isn't serving us? I don't know about that, Brother Help. That's a little over my head, unfortunately. Stevie Loves Horror says liberals are the wealthy. That is not true, Stevie Loves Horror. And if you keep on saying that, if you keep on not asking a question, I'm going to block you. I don't care if you have different opinions than me, but actually engage. Ask a question. I've already given you all the fucking evidence in the world that the billionaire class is in league with the Republican Party and that the Republican Party is the party of the wealthy elites. And if you're just deciding not to hear that because you want to spread the misinformation that it's the opposite, then you don't belong here, my man, because that is not what we do here. What we do here is actually engage with people and talk and answer questions and, you know, not judge people based on their political ideologies. All right, Headphones Emergency says, I want to ask a question. Please let me join. You know, I usually don't do that. I gotta be honest, I'm a little tempted right now. Evan Nelson says, so you don't let people disagree? I do, as long as they ask a question. Jersey Rican says, do you think the orange felon will finish his term? I don't know about his fucking health. You know, there tends to be a thing with people who are massive pieces of shit is that they just tend to live forever no matter how much fucking McDonald's they eat. Stevie Loves Horror says, all you're doing, judging people on their political ideology, what are you talking about? Well, at least you fucking asked a question, my man. I just have a problem with you coming on my live stream and fucking lying, my man. Like, I have already proven to you that Republicans are in league with the billionaire class and not vice versa. And your response to that is liberals are the party of the rich. Maybe engage with some of the shit that I said, you know, like prove to me that you're fucking listening and not just here to spread misinformation. All right. Headphone emoji says, how do I start studying politics as a middle schooler? I wanted to really start to study them. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to have you hop on here, my man. And we're going to see if this thing is going to fucking work. Because I want to hear about you, my man. Let's see here. Okay. All right. You know what? All right. Headphones emoji. Stick around for a second. I gotta take care of the Stevie Loves Horror guy. All right, Stevie Loves Horror. Let's get into it. Billionaires give 75% of their political donations to the Republican Party, and it makes sense that they would, because the Republican Party cuts taxes for the billionaire class and cuts regulations for their businesses, regulations that keep poison out of our water and our air. So they're literally poisoning us so that billionaires can have more money. Tell me where you think it makes any fucking sense, besides on a moral level, that billionaires would support the Democratic Party, who regulates their businesses and increases their taxes, as opposed to the Republican Party. Tell me where that fucking makes sense. 36 billionaires funded Kamala's campaign. You just said my friends said they didn't. 36 of over 1,000, Stevie Loves Horror. There are over 1,000 billionaires just here in America, Stevie Loves Horror. And that's not fucking including Vladimir Putin, who is fully in the tank for the Republican Party, and who many people say is the richest people on the planet. So fucking miss me with your I found 36 billionaires. Oh, of over 1,000 just in America? Hit me, man. hit me back. This is not the vibe that I usually. This is not the vibe I usually try to take into my live streams. I usually try to be cooler about this, but this guy just really fucking needled me in exactly the wrong way. All right, let's see here. Headphones emoji. You're coming on here, my man. Can I hear you? Can you hear me? Can people hear you? Is this working? Are you here, headphone emojis?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good. All right, let me try to turn up the volume here. Sorry, I don't usually have guests, so my setup is not perfect for it. All right, so talk to me, man. You said you want to start learning about politics?
I'm trying to get into politics, and I don't really know which side I'm on.
Okay, that's totally fair. Do you have any kind of experience like learning about these issues, or is it like you just kind of like on social media and you see things here and there?
Mostly social media, but yeah, that's mostly it.
Okay, that's totally fair, man. So I'd love to ask you how accurate you believe the information on social media is. Like, how much faith do you think you can put in something that you just see on social media?
Probably none.
Probably none. Okay, that's good. That's good. That is a really good place to be starting. Okay, so learning about politics through the news can be really difficult because, especially like someone in middle school, if you sat me down when I was your age, if you sat me down in front of a newspaper, I wouldn't fucking know. I wouldn't be able to tell heads or tails of what that stuff was going on, because when people write about politics in the news, they tend to like assume a lot of information. Like if you don't know who Kash Patel or Dan Bongino or what the filibuster is, like it can be really difficult to understand that stuff. So yeah, are you like in 8th grade right now or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all right. So long as you know that you can't really trust the shit that you're seeing on social media, I think you're starting off at a good place. What I would suggest you check out is try to find like a news roundup podcast, something that's like, 5 minutes or 20 minutes long or something like that, that just kind of goes through the headlines, and you listen to that, and it will sort of start giving you a foundation of what people are talking about when they talk about politics. Like, when they start talking about the Senate and the House and the separation of powers and stuff like that, like eventually things will hopefully sort of like seep in through osmosis. I'm hoping that wherever you go to school, there's going to be like some sort of a civics class where they talk about like the structure of the government and how a bill becomes a law and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's going to be really helpful as well. And hopefully, when you learn about that stuff in school and then you read about that stuff in the news or you hear about it in your daily news roundup podcast, then things will sort of like start to solidify a little bit. I like a podcast called What a Day for my daily news roundup. Also, there's a website called Ground News, which is the intention of Ground News is to be as objective as humanly possible and be honest about like what news sources they're getting information from, so like if it's more of a Democratic bias or a Republican bias. Have you heard about Ground News before?
No, I haven't heard about that before.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say check out Ground News. And if you ever come across something that you don't know what it is, you should pop onto my live again or send me a DM or email me through my website. Like my whole thing here is trying to get people more informed about politics and answer people questions so that they don't get intimidated the way that I was intimidated when I didn't know about this stuff until after I graduated college already. So you're starting off much earlier than I ever did. You'll be much more informed about this stuff than I am at my age.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
I'll try.
Yeah, do you have any specific questions now, or you just wanted to ask about getting started?
No, I just wanted to like see a news site.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anybody that you know that talks about politics already, like either on the internet or in real life, that you like a lot? Like some people like, that guy Hassan. Some people like Charlie Kirk. Is there anybody that you kind of vibe with already?
Not really. No.
That's totally fine, my man. You know,
Yeah.
just remember that all of these talking heads, they, you know, you got to take everything they say with a grain of salt. You got to double check everything they say because some of them are lying on purpose.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure to do that.
All right, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the live stream, man.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
What a cool kid. Woo! Oh man, that really that really got me, guys. I don't know what. All right, Don says, "Is Ground News a podcast or a website?" It is a website. Let's see here. Ron Mexico says, "Really hope the Speaking with American Men strategy pans out for the Democrats. They really need it." LOL. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. You know, people were roasting the Democrats for that thing. First of all, that wasn't the thing that the DNC came up with. That was a like a what do you call it? Like a strategy group that was proposing that to the Democratic Party and Democratic donors. But also, like, yeah, like put some money behind reaching demographics that you have not been voting for you. You know, that makes perfect sense to me. Let's see here. Dan Blackred. Oh man, you got my fucking number, man. You fucking get me, dude. All right. Let's scroll back up here. One Love. You do not appear to be here in good faith, my man. So you are out of here. Alrighty. Let's see here. Stevie Loves Horror says, "You think 1,000 billionaires funded the Trump campaign?" I don't know. But I know that you said 36 billionaires, which leaves 964 billionaires that did not say that they supported the Harris campaign. So that's like a ton. That's like a ton, my man. I don't even know if you're still fucking here. Stevie Loves Horror. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Let's see here. Turb Key Sandwich says, "Do you think that Kamala was the best choice for the Democratic nominee? If not, who would you pick?" I think that considering the circumstances, like 100 days left in the campaign, she was the only choice. You know, she was already the vice president. If Biden did not support her nomination, it would have just looked like fucking hardcore misogyny and racism. You know, if you choose someone to be your vice president and you decide to drop out of the race, and their name was right after yours in the 2024 Democratic primary, the only logical choice is for her to be the nominee. But yeah, you know, like, who do I like? I'm not really talking about 2028 here. I'm talking about 2026. I'm trying to get everybody focused on those midterms, man. Lauren, good to see you again. Lauren says she was the only one who could have used that campaign money, right? Yeah, of course, man. Oh, sorry, I thought you were making a different joke, Lauren. But yeah, what you said was accurate, and the joke that I made in my head for what I thought you were saying was also very funny. Let's see here. Jersey Rican says, "Do you think she did well for the first 100 days?" She did, in my opinion. I 100% think she did as good as she possibly could, considering the circumstances that she was thrown into. You know, were there some mistakes? Absolutely. But yeah, she had 100 days. That was an impossible task. I think that she did as well as could be expected for, you know, for the position that she was put in. Shay May KD says, "I really like to know about the senators and congressmen's health plans. Who pays for them?" Oh, you mean like who pays for their health insurance? It's us. It's us, Shay May K. That is us. Interested to pick her as VP was racist. No, it wasn't. Interested. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for all the questions and everything. Comments are kind of light right now, so I just wanted to tell everybody how much I appreciate them being here. RTP's falsetto voices. I appreciate you for continually bringing up the importance of 2026 over 28. Not many others do. Yeah, that's the fucking goal, man. That is the crusade here. Lint Liquor says, "Are you conservative?" No, I am not. Mustang says, "Democrats are the authoritarians, not Trump." Mustang, that is not accurate. I don't allow people to just spread misinformation on my live stream. If you want to ask a question, you can. Let's see. You're interested? Yes, it was. It was color over being smart. Interested. What makes you think that Kamala Harris wasn't smart? Is it the fact that she's a woman? The fact that she was a person of color? Interested? Damage says we should be asking if someone cloned the voting machines and substituted their data. So they have done soft audits in swing districts, and they found no discrepancies. It is extremely unlikely that all of the voting machines got hacked by Elon Musk. It is much more likely that just, you know, election finance violations and massive untoward numbers of the words are failing me at the moment, guys. It's Friday. And unprecedented amount of billionaire money flooding into Republican candidates' pockets is more likely the reason why that campaign was lost than Elon Musk hacked every election machine. Lintlicker says, what should we do if habeas corpus is suspended? The same thing that we always can do, Lintlicker. Protest, boycott, strike, put pressure on your elected representatives, get people to vote for Democrats in 2026. You got to start talking to people now. Talk to your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, people that already know you, love you, and respect you. Make sure that they're not stuck in some sort of propaganda rabbit hole. Make sure they're getting the actual news instead of the fake news. Make sure that they're a voter. Make sure that they're voting for Democrats. Make sure they have a plan to vote for Democrats. If they live in a place that is run by Republicans, help them to make sure that that they are registered, that their registration sticks, so they don't get fucking purged illegally, that after they vote, that their vote is counted and not thrown away because a Republican decided that their handwriting didn't match just because it happened to be a vote for a Democratic candidate, etc. Interested says, do you have a comment about your cover-up of Biden not having a brain? Interested, that is not a good faith question. So yeah, you're out of here. See you later, buddy. 68 Alex says, look at the Democratic values from 10 years ago, compare them to now. Are you talking about in the Democratic Party? Because they're much more progressive than they were 10 years ago. Turkey Sandwich says, have you always been a Democrat or did you eventually become a Democrat? I did not go from a Republican to a Democrat. I went from a person who did not know anything about politics to a person who learned about politics and discovered that my values were more closely aligned with the Democratic parties than the Republican Party. And it's not even like a close game. Like, it's fucking blowout. 68 Alex says, you mean socialists? I don't know what you mean by that, 68. What do you mean by that? Let's see here. Pensez-vous que les femmes de variante se faire payer le soulier? I studied a little French in high school, so I think what you're saying here is, do you think that the femmes faire is to do? Do you think that, I don't know, devrayant, maybe? Femmes devrayant means like trans women or something? I don't know, Apple user. Sorry. I don't know what the payer. I don't know. Sorry, buddy. Alrighty. So yeah, I really appreciate everybody being here. Support the channel any way that you can, with likes, with shares, like telling your friends how great it is. You can send you can join my Patreon, you can send gifts, you can subscribe, you can go buy things from my store. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do to support, and I appreciate all the support that you can give me. Is Abrego going to be returned to the U.S.? That is an excellent question, KinScap93, and the answer, unfortunately, is that he will come back if we do the work of getting him back. If we do the work of putting political pressure on our elected representatives to make this an issue that they do fucking something about. Right now, the Republican control of Congress are sitting on their fucking hands. They are asleep at the wheel while people who are legal residents who've done nothing fucking wrong are rotting in concentration camps in authoritarian nations. It is fucking unbelievable. It is morally bankrupt. It is unconstitutional. It's unconscionable. It's a fucking nightmare. And if it can happen to him, it can happen to any fucking one of us. Trump is already talking about doing it to American citizens now. It's just a fucking matter of time. If we don't do the work, we could be next on the fucking chopping block. So yeah, do the work of getting Abrego Garcia back, and he'll come back. But if we just sit around and wait for someone to save us, absolutely not. Not only is he not coming back, but we're going to go fucking join him. We're going to have the cell next to him. Turb Key Sandwich says, do you believe in the gender pay gap? I do. I know that there are people who argue that it is inaccurately calculated or something, but I don't know. I don't think that it's I don't think it's a real bank shot to say that women have been treated unjustly in our culture. It seems like that tracks for me. Susan Palmer, yeah, it's a real fucking bummer, man. All right. If anybody has any questions that they were not able to get answered on this live stream, my DMs are open. Email me through my website. Website is a great resource for streaming schedule, stand-up schedule, Patreon, store. You can ask me questions there. Links to all my other good shit. My normal streaming schedule is Monday through Friday, starting around 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And so I hope that you all will come back and watch me again and again. And if you're watching this live stream and you're like me and you want to do the work and you want to help, please do the work and recruit other people to do the work. We got to fucking spread this message. We got to spread this gospel like a fucking phone tree. We got to reach it out like fucking roots of a tree, man, so that it hits every district in this country so we can fucking change the political tides here. You got criticisms about the way the Democrats are running their fucking campaigns. I don't give a shit. They're better than Republicans, and we are not going to be safe until Democrats take back some political power from the billionaire-funded Republican fascist pieces of fucking shit that are currently in control. All right? You don't like that the fucking progressive won the primary? The progressive is better than the Republican. You don't like that the centrist won the primary? The centrist is better than the Republican. I fucking guarantee it, guys. And we're not going to get out of this shit until we have some fucking balance and some sanity back in our government. So do the work, guys. And do what you can. You know, like, I'm not asking you if you only got 3 fucking limbs to get out there and be canvassing 7 days a week. You do what you can. And if you're fucking 20 years old and you got a lot of gas in the tank and you're passionate about this shit, yeah, fucking burn the candle at both ends. Buddy, you know, do the work. Do the work, guys. Please do the work and recruit other people to do the work. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for being here. Let's see here. Tyler Rizzi says, why do people still try to support Trump and act like he can do nothing wrong? Propaganda and misinformation, Tyler. It's a hell of a drug. Thank you for being here, everybody. I will see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Have an excellent weekend, everybody. Self-care is part of the resistance. And, yeah, you know, let's all get out there and do the fucking work, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Bye.